Alright, United Rogue, welcome back everyone to another evening of Rocket League. We have two teams in Macaroni League playing against each other tonight. But first, let me give a warm welcome to MD. It is his first time on the UR desk. How are you doing, MD?
I'm doing pretty good tonight. How are you doing, Wasey? Like you said, I've never been here before, so this is going to be a new experience for me. Do have a little bit of casting experience in other streams, but as far as UR is concerned, I do know one person here that's at least partaking in the league.
Right then, yeah. So we're gonna show you a lot of pretty solid players tonight. We are watching Washington take on their opponents of Utah tonight. So this is a pretty interesting matchup, MD. We're gonna try to dissect it a little bit. Both of these teams are in a pretty good spot as far as the groups go. Now, Burke and I were talking a little bit pre-stream, and there is a scenario tonight where we end up with a three-way tie in Group C of Macaroni League, and that is if Washington Rebellion managed to win 3-1, exactly 3-1, we will end up with a three-way tie in Group C. So we could be watching some cinema here tonight, MD.
Cinema is always a great time. Three-way tie is very interesting to say the least. It's not something you typically see in Rocket League leagues in general. Ties very rarely happen, but yeah, I'm excited to see exactly if Washington will be able to take this game away from Utah here. Like you said, they seem to be pretty well matched for the most part, I guess you would say.
Yeah, definitely pretty evenly matched. Washington Rebellion, of course, sitting at 1-1 inside their group at the moment. Utah, on the other hand, have been pretty dominant. So 2-0 in favor in their group. They're sitting at 6-1 game record, meaning that their single game which they have dropped, I believe, up against the San Francisco Cyborgs a little bit earlier on this week. But that just goes to show you how strong Utah is at the moment. They've dropped one game in the entire of the group stage thus far. I think most people would have Utah as the favorites for this matchup, MD.
Definitely, especially just kind of looking around at the stats at the moment. I do have them up on my phone here to take a look. Just kind of looking across the players here. Looks like there's a player by the name of Special who Special and Cinder who seem to be carrying the load when it comes to scoring. I mean, Cinder's coming in with 38 goals on the season already, so I'm expecting to see. I guess I'm expecting to see Special be a lot more active on the offensive end. As far as you can tell, I mean, I'm guessing you've probably watched these teams a couple times. Have you seen what their rotations are like?
Yeah, I mean, pretty strong. I hope we are ready to go here because we're getting right into it for game number one. So that means Utah is going to be starting off pretty hot. I anticipate Utah is going to have the speed advantage as we get into the series, MD. As you mentioned, Cinder and Special are two players which I'm looking at in particular. Cinder is going to be probably one of the biggest names on the pitch as he's going to be a very big offensive powerhouse. We'll see if Washington is able to deal with it. On the other side of the pitch, MD, I'm looking at a player called Gabe Jess, and he's a very well-known player in this league. So we'll see if he can keep up and manage to take Washington with a couple of games.
Yeah, Gabe just coming in with let's see, 47 goals on the season on 126 shots. I mean, that's very good shooting percentage for the most part. Right now, as the teams are kind of just knocking the ball back and forth a little bit, nobody's really taking full possession of the play at the moment. There's been a good midfield pressure from both sides. Cinder trying to put another shot on net here as it gets cut off in the midfield. Special once again. There's just very good offensive and defensive stands coming from both sides right now.
Yeah, so far both teams have done well to kind of keep the play going whenever they have control, keep the boost as well under control. But easier said than done here. When you got Utah on the other side of the pitch, they will find a demo, and there's a bump as can be seen. Gabe Jess is going to try to keep his team alive. He's going to be the last man back for a couple of seconds. Luckily, he's got the boost to deal with it for now, and he's able to make the stop, MD.
Gabe just trying to now gets a fake underneath 150s with Special. It's going to fall out into the midfield once again. A great 50. Jimmy G is going to put a shot on target. Silvos is able to get the clear. Once again, back into the corner. Special gets one pop. Can he get a second? No. It's going to fall down into the midfield. There's a touch there from, it looked like Gabe Jess. I'm a little behind, it seems, at the moment. Jimmy G trying to put this on target, but Gabe Jess able to cut him off. Looking for a pass to the midfield. There's Special off the backboard. Finally
Yeah, so far I'm surprised that this game has managed to stay even. It's been pretty end-to-end stuff for the most part. Not a ton of midfield because anytime either Special or Cinder have control of the ball, they've been very quick to get it downfield, steal the corner boost, and then go on from there. And as can be seen, now Cinder's going to try to do this exact thing. There's a strong challenge to work with potentially looking to win it over to Coach, who's deep inside the half at the moment. Now Cinder. Back over to Kosh, but turned away. That one dangerous inside the box, MD.
Yeah, they're still mounting a good offensive stand. Utah is trying to open up the defense any way they can. They're putting it across the side every single time, trying to get somebody to use some boost. Special, a pass out to Jimmy G. It's saved away by Coach. Jimmy
And now Kosh.
trying
Really tough spot here,
to
but
save
looks like Utah is going to be able to keep a
unable
hand
to
on it
do
for
so
now.
as Coach
Now Gabe
pops
Jess
over
next
the
up, and
entire
Silvos.
defense.
Once again, tough spot inside the box, but so far both teams have done well, especially on the defensive end. The main thing is being able to keep pace with your opponents, with both teams have done fairly well. Both teams looking pretty comfortable on the defensive end. But the midfield's an entirely different story, as Utah have pretty firm dominance over that thus far. Only feels like a matter of time before they are able to capitalize on the little speed advantage they've got in the midfield. So far, they haven't been able to, MD, but it feels like it's only a matter of time coming.
It's a quick passing play going out there. Unfortunately, it's not going to fall on target. Silvos is able to get this over the entire defense, but unable to track down the ball. Pops it out to Gabe Jess. Gabe Jess looking for a second touch. It's going to go off the post. There's a pinch between Cinder and Special. Unable to get the ball farther enough out. Another quick shot from Gabe Jess. And Special's able to clear this away. Now has possession once again. It's popped into the midfield. Is anybody up? There's Cinder. Puts it on the backboard, but has no follow-up at the moment. Special and Gabe just come together, but Gabe is able to clear it away.
Oh, Jimmy G, they're connecting now. Special over towards the backboard. He's got the waterfall, and Gabe Jess, really tough spot to work with. His momentum was almost going to send him past the play, but he was able to get a touch on it in just the barest amount of time. Now, Kosh, that's 50. A little bit neutral. That might open the door here for Utah if they can launch a counterattack. So far, Utah doing a little bit better in the passing department, especially inside the counterattacks. We've seen specialists looking for some of these lanes to get opened, especially towards Cinder. And either way, they've not been able to strike just yet. We could be towards overtime in game number one. It stays up just temporarily in Washington. Last second heroics. Gabe just can't quite get there.
Full 5 minutes of Rocket League. Nobody able to score. It's been an absolute shootout from both sides. I mean, Washington already has 6 shots on net, and Utah already trying to end this overtime already. Cinder managed to clear it all the way downfield, unable to put it on target. Gabe just flicks over one. It's going to be on target. Special manages to stretch and get there. Silva's going to try to pass this back to the middle. Cinder and looks like, I believe that was Jimmy, came together to finally clear the ball away, but there's a surging Washington offense right now. It goes top left corner. A great shot from Coach, and Washington will take game number one.
Yeah, this one feels like robbery, especially since Utah had the pace of play firmly under control for the better part of regulation, in my opinion. But Washington, they find one chance and they are able to easily capitalize. I mean, Coach made it look pretty simple with the open left hand top bin shot. Really could not ask for more out of Washington. And if we've done our numbers correctly, MD, I think Washington need minimum 2 games in order to prevent that sort of three-way tiebreak that we were talking about a little bit earlier. I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to qualify out of groups, so but it will at least prevent a massive tie. So they're going to be looking for at minimum 2 games, preferably the win Washington in this first game is going to be a great start.
Yeah, definitely. With this at least first game in the bag, that prevents at least a little bit the tie a little bit longer. But Utah definitely are not out of it just yet. I mean, they were putting up astonishing numbers on saves. I mean, 2 players picking up a savior medal. Just the shots coming out from both teams were incredible. Washington just had a little bit more pressure. I mean, you see Gabe just coming out with 7 shots on target. He alone basically he alone outscored the entire defense. Like that is incredible.
Yeah, it just goes to show you the offensive powerhouse that is at Washington. But either way, they've got their match ahead of them, And now we're gonna get into game number 2. So I actually got a fun fact from Berkey while we were in between games here on the Gabe
Okay.
Jess. He was with Utah halfway through the season. He was dropped and picked up by the Washington Rebellion. And so that means there's a little bit of a revenge matchup here for Gabe Jess, who's going up against his prior team. And we're at a point where this match could determine the fate of the playoffs. And so a really tense matchup here for Gabe Jess, who so far has been an offensive powerhouse in game number 1. We'll see if he can keep it up in game 2.
Gabe just immediately gets a dunk here. It's almost on target. On either way side, Special gets a 50 on the sidewall here. Try to get the follow-up. Manages to get the 50 with Gabe Jess. Cinder pops it up. Low on boost. Maybe looks for a bump. Unable to get anybody. Silvos runs out of boost and has to try to track this down. Gets a bump on his own teammate, and finally Utah will be able to clear this away. Special over to Jimmy. Jimmy to the corner. Cinder is there. Leaves it on the corner. Silvo's unable to get the touch, but Gabe is able to bail him out.
And once again, it's a tough spot inside the box for Washington, as that one just hits the woodwork. Still, Washington can't afford to slip up and out. They've been stuck inside their own half for the better part of the last minute. And Cinder's going to keep it going now over to Special. And now Utah, who've done extremely well over the course of game number 1, controlling the pace of play inside their own half and inside the midfield. A little bit struggling now because they've got not a lot of boost to work with. The fact that Coach has nabbed that corner is going to compound the matter. Gabe Jazz going to keep the pressure on as they continue to hunt for that first goal, but Washington looking like the favorites. The double tap, not going to find the back of the net, and the follow-up, not there either, MD, so Utah going to escape.
Utah just barely escaping out of this one and putting a quick counterattack on target. Gabe was able to clear away. Coach looking for a demo, but Cinder's able to get to the ball first. Just has to get one more touch. Maybe a pass in the middle, but no one's there. Steals the corner. Coach gets a pinch off the ceiling. Jimmy G rushing to this ball, trying to maintain possession. Gets it over one. One boost and a dream, trying to get a bump on Gabe. As Gabe is unable to make contact, Cinder will put it into the back of the net, and Cinder will put Utah on the board.
You had to feel like this one was a matter of time because the amount of pressure that Utah was putting up in the first half of game number 2 was a bit of a surprise that Washington was able to escape for so long. And finally, they are able to break that dry spell. That is the first goal that Utah has scored this series. And it does kind of feel like the first of many to come. That's off the backboard and Special, almost able to hammer that one home. So far, Utah making great use of the backboard. It's been open more often than not, which maybe Washington is a little bit worried about, but they might get another opportunity here for redemption inside the half MD.
At this point, you wonder if Washington is going to be able to maintain the type of pressure that they had in game number 1 here. They had control of the boost for a long time as, oh my goodness, there's just a wide open net. Silvos pops that over the entire defense, leaves it for Coach, and it's game up.
Yeah, that was a really tough spot for Cinder. He was kind of parked on the near post. He had about 25 boosts in the tank, and unfortunately sitting on the near post and hoping for the best isn't really an option. Had to dive, and unfortunately was beat to the play. So that means Washington able to equalize, and now they're going to be looking for another lead here as we get past halftime in regulation for game 2. It's Coach to Silvos. Silvos back down to Coach the shot. Lacking the juice necessary to convert, but Gabe Jess is around and able to keep it going. So far, Washington, big redemption since halftime. They've truly stepped it up in terms of the pressure department, and now they're once again locking Utah inside that half.
Once again, we see both teams kind of doing a very good job here in the midfield. I mean, when the ball does break into the other half, it doesn't seem to stay there for very long on either side. Cinder gets demoed by Coach here. Jimmy G has to try to slow the ball down. Finally, Special comes back, misses the ball, so Jimmy has to commit once again. Picks up the boost. Able to get it across midfield here. Carries it all the way downfield. He gets a 50 onto the backboard here. Is it going to go in? No. Gabe stands tall once again and able to clear the ball away. Now slowing it down to try to set up something for his team.
Yeah, Washington, the one thing they've done extremely well is once they are inside the Utah half, they tend to keep it there for quite an extended duration. But they have not really been able to do so for the latter minute or so. Right now, it is all Utah inside the half, and Special able to just clip Silvos out of the play. That means Silvos is in a really tough spot here inside this corner. Opens the door for Special, who fakes it for Cinder. Some great team plays coming out of Utah right now. We saw the passing plays as well in game number 1. So That means Washington gonna have to keep an eye out for this three-headed beast that is the Utah Craze. As they continue to advance, could we see another overtime in game 2, MD? Thoughts?
I mean, obviously, I would like to see another overtime, but the way that Utah is playing right now, they're surging on this defensive half of Washington. Coach is finally able to clear the ball away, flicks it
Oh!
over to Gabe. Gabe not able to make contact, and Special will get the save.
I don't know how on earth that's not found the back of the Utah net. It did look like Gabe just had a pretty clean look at it. I think he got slightly worried by the last defender beating him to the ball because Washington didn't really have a firm third man at the moment, so Gabe just felt compelled to rush. Jimmy, oh, he's in a tough spot. He can't get to it. Jimmy can't get to it. And Silva finds the buzzer beater.
Oh my. I I was not expecting that at all, Wasey. That is just an unfortunate way to drop game number 2 as the ball goes flying.
Yeah, a bit of an unexpected one. I was for sure expecting an overtime there, especially with how even these two teams were matched. So hopefully we will see a little bit of redemption from Utah. But if you're Washington, you're sitting pretty happy right now. I took a look over the numbers, chat. It does seem that if Washington finds a sweep in the series, they will almost certainly be advancing into the second round of playoffs, which is of course that single elimination. And so they're looking for the sweep here. They're pretty close to doing so. 2 games on the board. Utah yet to respond. They've scored one goal over the last 2 games. That being said, Special is putting up huge numbers right now. He's been so close on many occasions on D to getting that equalizer goal, and you gotta feel like Utah's still in the hunt for the dub. We may have lost MD, but that's okay. You might be stuck with me for a little bit, chat. We're gonna get into game number 3, where Utah, despite having gone up 2-0 in their group, despite having dropped a single game in the last 2 series, have now dropped 2 in quick succession to Washington, for whom, like I mentioned, a sweep will guarantee a spot into the single elimination. Game number 3. Can Washington close it out? Can Gabe Jess get a little bit of redemption against his former team? Here we go. The sweep on the board. And a lot to play for in this game number 3. It's going to be Cinder to kick us off. And directly almost into the back of the net as Silvos able to keep it out. Silvos, of course, being the player who scored at the tail end of regulation in game 2 to give Washington a massive W when they needed it the most. Now they're going to be looking for a little bit more of the same. It's been a pretty low-scoring affair. And Washington definitely have changed the pace of play a little bit now. A little bit more controlled, a little bit more mindful of the space they've got to work with. But the problem is that's opened the door for Utah to start stealing a little bit of the boost. You can see Cinder there on the left-hand side who's nabbed the 100.
Right,
And now he's going to be looking for a little bit of pressure on his own with the solo play over to Cinder. We'll see if MD is back now as we get deeper into Game 3, MD. Alright. We may not have MD just yet, so that means you're stuck with me for a little bit longer, chat. In the meantime, a big stalemate in the midfield, which I suppose is to be expected, given that games 1 and 2 were very close affairs. In fact, neither team has scored for quite a long time. That could change sooner or later. Special is able to find it off the roller. Inside the corner, a really tough spot here for the Washington Rebellion. You can see a slight double commit as there was Gabe Jazz who dove inside the corner. I think Coach as well had kind of had the same idea. And so that led to a bit of a tough spot for the Washington Rebellion. Utah's going to take quick advantage as they look for their first game in this series. Like I mentioned earlier, chat, if this series ends 3-1 in favor of the Washington Rebellion, we will end up with a 3-way tie in Group C of Macaroni League. And the way this game number 3 is panning out, that very well could be the case. Special, he was looking to run away with it off the 50. He couldn't quite do so, MD. So still a 1-goal lead for Utah.
Utah's got to be happy with at least maintaining this lead at the moment. Trying to get themselves right back on the board. Jimmy G unable to make contact. Cinder's going to dive in for this ball, but gets immediately 50'd by Gabe. Ball falls into the orange half once again. The demo between Cinder and Gabe Jess. Ball's going to go flying across to the side now. Silvos has possession, unable to get it by Cinder. Cinder to the middle. It's on the backboard. Can Cinder drop it down? Does. It's going to go sky high as Jimmy G unable to make contact with the back of the net.
Oh, and once again, it's gone past all the defenders. Very similar to that last goal we saw at the end of game number 2, where Silvos was able to beat it past the whole crowd. Same kind of idea here for Coach. Cinder, like you mentioned, unable to get back to it in time. Utah, I mean, the fact that they're conceding these types of long, clear goals, not particularly a great sign if they want to get deeper into the series, because Washington very quick to take advantage.
Cinder off the touch from Jimmy G. Back on top. Coach was trying to get it clear. Got bumped by Special, and unfortunately, nobody from Washington was able to get a good enough clear, so Cinder will send this right back into the back of the net. Takes the 2-1 lead here in game number 3, as Utah are hoping to get a game off of them at this point.
Yeah, the way it's looking, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them convert this game, as that one just off the woodwork. Crossbar and at Washington barely keeping themselves alive. Luckily, they've got the boost to deal with it on the defensive end. Still, they've got to contend with Special, who's diving full send into the box, looking for any 50 he can get. Now it's Cinder. He's potentially threatening the pass as well, and Jimmy G is going to be able to rotate in to keep the play alive. Without a whole lot of boost on any of the Utah Rebellion or the Utah Craze players, I doubt this play is going to go many places. That might open the door here for Washington with a strong 50 from Silvos.
Silva's unable to get a second touch, leaves it for Kosh. Gets immediately dunked by Special here. Gabe trying to work some magic for his team, but gets 50'd on the sidewall. Jimmy G, shot on target. Coach is able to clear it. Maybe looking for a second touch, unable to do so. Special sends it up to Jimmy G. Puts it right back off the corner. Cinder looking for the waterfall, trying to get it to Special. Ball's going to get sent out. Jimmy G is already waiting midfield. As now, finally, Washington are beginning to surge a little bit. Gabe just with a shot on target. Special, a heck of a save coming out. Trying to keep his team ahead in this game at this point as we come down to a minute left in the game.
I'm still liking what I'm seeing here from Washington inside the offensive half. I mean, there's some serious creativity to be had here, with Coach and Silvos both threatening the backboard at any given time. Utah's had to be a little bit mindful with the third man rotation. Make sure to cover the high as well as the low. Another pass. It's going to be Gabe Jess. He finds it inside the corner. He's got the huge momentum advantage right now. If any of Washington can find a big challenge to work with, and they will be certain to find a goal in the coming seconds. Backboard. What a touch by Cinder. He's pinched it off his own backboard and kept the Utah Craze out of danger.
Special picking up the double demo here. Coach trying to clear the ball away, but has nobody to really give the ball to. Gabe finally put this into the corner. Coach gets demoed on the Washington on the Utah back half here. Silvos with a touch, trying to put it off of the back of his car, unable to find connection. And Washington now are scrambling, trying to get one more goal to try to maintain this streak that they've had so far. But it looks like Utah are going to drop this ball to the ground and Utah will pick up the Game 3 win.
All of a sudden, this three-way tie is looking more and more like a reality. 3-1 in favor of Washington was all we needed. It's currently 2-1 in favor of the Washington Rebellion after Utah finally pick up a game. You gotta feel like that game was a long time coming, though. We saw the amount of pressure Utah was able to put out in games 1 and 2 MD. Bit of surprise that they weren't able to convert any of them, especially since Washington has been having these long clears over the heads of the last handful of defenders for Utah. That's been the big pain point. If you are a Utah Craze fan, you want to see that get fixed up real quick as we get deeper into the series, MD.
Yeah, 100%. Utah have been caught on their back heels quite a bit. Balls just getting sent right over their heads, and they are doing a good job, at least right now, of closing off the majority of the passing lanes, but they're spending a lot of time, so much time on offense, sending all three players at once, that if the ball just gets boomed, it's going to be trouble for them. So hopefully they manage to clean that up within game number 4 here. And for Washington, they just didn't have nearly as much pressure as they did before. So they're starting to struggle a little bit on offense. So hopefully they can clean up some of their rotations. Maybe the communication, there's a couple communication breakdowns, but you never know what's going on in those comms. So you just got to hope they manage to clean something up.
Well, still, really like what I'm seeing. I mean, there's definitely some signs of life for Washington rebelling on the offense. Maybe not as entirely dead as you're thinking, because those backboard plays have really been coming to fruition for the Washington Rebellion. I distinctly remember Silva's off the backboard over to Gabe Jess, and that one was so close to finding a second goal. And the equalizer, might I mention. And so if Washington are able to keep it up, I will not be too surprised to see another close game like we saw in game number 1 in overtime potentially. We're going to be starting off here with a little bit of Utah possession. That's going to be Special, who's looking for a backward play of his own. But Washington has been a little bit more mindful of that backboard since game number 1. They've definitely been looking to allocate a player on the backboard whenever possible, because Utah have repeatedly been sending it the high ground again and again. Washington have taken note.
Silvo's trying to maintain possession here. Passes it over to Gabe. Gabe's going to send it to the backboard. It's a pitch between two Utah players. It's going to find the back of the net. No, Coach manages to stretch and keep it out.
Yeah, that was a special touch from Coach. I mean, off the crossbar, he somehow makes contact. A little bit of a double commit here, but is it actually a pinch into the back of the net? It is. Silvos is going to be credited for this goal as two Washington Rebellion players combine. What on earth have we witnessed? Washington go up 1.
See, this is exactly what we were worried about on Utah's side. Once again, they're sending everybody upfield, caught unawares, and the ball just gets pinched over the back line. I mean, you're not really expecting a pinch to come out from there, but still, you got to hope somebody's at least back to be able to deal with those types of things. And now Utah will take the early lead here.
Oh, it's a tough spot. And Cinder immediately able to get one back for the Utah Craze. It's over the heads of, once again, the last two Washington defenders. It also helped a little bit that Silva's forced up incredibly quickly as a result of Jimmy G looking for the fake. And that's going to open the door for Utah. An equal game for game number 4. Very similar to the last handful of games we've seen on the stream, MD. Been pretty close games thus far. Silva's past 1, but not past 2.
Coach is going to pop that up, but it only goes as far as Cinder. Cinder doesn't really get the best of clears, so Gabe just is going to put this on target. It's saved by Special to Jimmy G. Back over to Cinder. Silvos stretches, able to get the ball cleared. Has to try to beat another defender there. Special comes rushing in. Gabe just pops it over 1. Looking for a second. Gets bumped into the ball by Cinder. Special unable to reach it, and now Cinder turns around again. A pass. What? Oh my goodness, over to Cinder back. Oh my, what is that play?
That is something special from the Utah Craze. The 1-2 give and go as Cinder and Special combine for their second goal. Washington, once again, the same spot they were stuck in back in game number 3. 2-1 scoreline, trailing by a goal. They had so many offensive attempts and could not find the equalizer. Could we be watching history repeat itself? Gabe Jess is going to try to break that curse with a strong shot. Now over to Coach, who's not going to find the back of the net. It's a double save from the Utah Craze to keep their 1-goal lead intact, but they're not out of the woods just yet, MD.
How did Coach not get that through? That is an incredible save coming out from Utah Craze. Coach still trying to maintain possession of this ball. Cinder was able to get it away, but is immediately challenged by Silvos. Special gets a touch. Coach is able to put it to the sidewall. Looking for a second. Manages to get it, but runs out of boost. Jimmy G pops this long. Gabe is able to reach it in time. Everybody trying to avoid getting demoed at the moment. And I will say one thing I have noticed, that Washington have not been doing very well, that they did do well in the first couple games, that they have not been maintaining very good boost control. It seems like right now it is all Utah Craze.
Yeah, they definitely have the speed advantage inside the midfield, and that's opening the door for them to grab those 2 mid boosts more often than not. Luckily, Gabe Jess has been finding some really strong challenges to keep Washington still in it. And once again, Gabe Jess is going to be called upon here. It's another decent challenge to send it inside the corner. Coach, oh, he's got time. He's got boost. He's looking to get the job done here for the second goal. But it just gets by him. Now Utah still threatening those backboard plays. We can see a Utah defender or a Utah attacker pretty much inside the corner looking for the
Oh
pass
no.
whenever possible. This one's going to get capped out of the box. A little bit awkward just outside of the half field line, MD, but Washington able to make do.
Good 50s coming out from Gabe Jess, unable to maintain possession of the ball, though, as Utah have been all over Washington trying to get this ball clear. They're just swarming in their corner. They have to find a way to stretch out of this. Coach finally gets a give ahead from Gabe, and Coach will tie this game up within a minute to go.
I am taking a look at the chat. I do note that if this goes to 5, Washington Rebellion is indeed out of contention. And based off my quick examination of the playoff sheet, I think you are entirely correct. So Washington desperately needs this dub. And that second goal is going to be a huge step to keeping their playoff chances alive. Now Gabe Jess, he is getting pretty hungry inside the half. He's already found a couple of good challenges to his name. Can't afford to get too greedy now that there's only 40 seconds on the clock. Any mistake here now would be a huge turn away, but Silvos, off the bump, is going to find the third goal and the go-ahead lead for Washington Rebellion.
Fantastic bump from Gabe to clear the way for Silvos. Silvos is going to put his team up, trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. They just have to maintain this lead for the last 34 seconds, and they will be able to punch their ticket to continue further on. Oh, that is a great pass over to Gabe from Coach. They get the dagger. Can they maintain this 2-goal lead with under 30 seconds to go?
It's looking like they should be able to. I'd be incredibly surprised to see them drop this lead. It's the largest lead that any team has had. It's been all 1-goal affairs up until this point. And so with only a couple seconds on the clock, Utah need a lot more than miracles. Silvas continues to find the back of the net. That's his hat trick here in game number 4. And what a time for Washington Rebellion to come alive, MD.
Perfect timing for them to come alive. They get 3 quick goals to further their lead with 24 seconds to go. I mean, it's not impossible, but that is a very hard deficit to come back from in Rocket League, especially at this level.
Yeah, I mean, this one just looks pretty much done. Utah, there's no coming back from that level of a deficit. That kickoff goal is really what did them in at the end of the day, which is a shame because this team looked so strong after game number 3. It did feel like they were starting to really show Washington what they are truly made of. I mean, this is the same team that had only dropped 1 game up until this point, and now they have dropped 3 to the Washington Rebellion, which means that we have a 3-way tie in Group C. Washington Rebellion and the Philadelphia Plague are going to advance to the final bracket as a result of their regular season seeding. And that means the Utah Craze, I mean, despite having been so strong in this group stage, are they out?
Just got a notification from Berkey here, so there's actually a correction. So Utah and Washington will move forward. So the one win puts them the one win that they got put them at 7 wins. So they're above Philadelphia.
I see.
So Philadelphia,
I see.
Philadelphia is missing out.
Wow, that is an unreal finish to this group stage. I'm taking a closer look at this, but it does look like our producer Berkey is indeed correct. Washington and Utah should be the ones moving forward. What an ending. I mean, the fact that it came down to quite literally a single game and maybe a few kickoffs worth of a difference for this group is quite frankly ridiculous, Andy.
Yeah, being the game and playoffs being decided by a couple of kickoff goals is very unusual, and especially with how tight the game was being the whole entire way. I mean, we had 1-goal games every single game. The teams were playing absolutely lights out. That first game was incredible. It going scoreless for all 5 minutes until we got that overtime, and then every other game after that, I believe, was ended in regulation, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we should have had game 2 go to overtime, I think, right? We did have the go-ahead goal from the Washington Rebellion after they found out over the heads of the last handful of defenders, right? Like we saw many times this series. It was really like game two which did it, to be honest. The fact that that one didn't go to OT, it didn't really give the Utah Craze a fighting chance. It's really the catalyst that kind of converted the series into a dub for the Washington Rebellion. I don't know how they managed to clutch up and find a dub this series because that is some seriously impressive work. A lot of pressure on the shoulders. They managed to perform MD.
That is a great mental toughness
Yep, yep,
coming
yep.
out from Washington Rebellion. They did fantastic work. Utah fought hard, but Gabe ends up being the victor over his old team, and that has definitely got to feel good for him.
Oh yeah, I do. I did mention that earlier. I completely forgot about it. But yeah, Gabe just huge props to him. All right, chat. So that is it for our one game of the night. Do we have another? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. But
I do not
are
believe
they
we
off?
do.
We don't. That's okay. All right, chat. Well, that's gonna do it for us tonight. Thank you, MD, for joining me on the desk. That's all good. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I had a good time. Going solo, so it wasn't too bad. All right, well, thank you, chat, for joining us here as well. Hope you all enjoyed it just as much as we did on the desk. From us on the producer side, have a good rest of your night. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
Hello. I think
Hello.
you're trolling. I think Washington and Philadelphia